6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the True Crime Squad. This is Katie Weaver. I'm here with my sister, co-host, and partner in crime, Kristi Brower. Hello.
Hello. Hey everybody.
Day 1 of the belligerent turd circus. How you doing?
You know, I'm doing all right. I really had questions about if this was ever even going to begin, if this was even ever going to fucking happen.
Yeah.
And here we are.
All week. I have rearranged our schedule and moved our postcards and stuff around more times than I even want to admit. This has been bananas. Right? And that's why I think we should kick it off with a song.
Yes, we should. Definitely.
I think it's just the only place we can go. So let's start right here.
She woke up this morning with a groan and a wheeze. Said, I can't face court, I got the tantrum disease. Her eyes rolled back, she clutched her chest. I've got the jailhouse pox, I need my rest. She's got typhoid, trench foot, and a case of gout. Explosive diarrhea, it's just shooting right out. The jail flu, the vapors, a suspicious rash. Laura's list of illnesses is medical trash. She's got a hangnail, a migraine, a case of the bends, hepatitis Q, and some courtroom end times. Trends, oh, Judge Brusky just gave her the side eye, while Prosecutor K just sighed. Nice try. She whispered consumption, I've caught the plague. I'm coughing blood, my legs are vague. I'm allergic to truth and legal woes. And I just read the Constitution, now I've got the blues. I broke my aura, my chakras are off. I caught demonitis from that prison cough. I've got werewolf fever and ghostly fatigue, and possibly an allergy to due process league. There's bubonic bloat and courtroom chills, narcissistic shingles, and some innocent ills. She's got phantom limb pain, though all limbs are present, and a touch of amnesia when court gets unpleasant, with Judge Bareski tapping that bench in despair. Kay's got her folder and a death row stare. Nice baby voice Lori, but court's still a go, even if you claim you got post-murder glow. So here's to Lori and her dramatic affliction, her invisible disease and murder conviction. She can fake sick from here to the moon, but honey, justice don't adjourn for a 4-time convicted murderer.
Well, that was excellent.
That's a good way to start this out.
I mean, her legs are vague, friends. They are vague.
Ooh. And how many voice changes did we experience today?
So many.
Because when she speaks to the judge, it's... and when she talks to the jury, she's just damn fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's such a faker.
Yeah. Aw, thank you, Mari. Thanks, guys. That was a good one. It'll go in our SoundCloud. So we do have a SoundCloud where all of the songs we've done for True Crime are at, and there are some winners in there. This one I think is a very good one. So
there are definitely some winners over there. Mm-hmm. And expect more from this trial.
Oh yeah, she's given us plenty of fodder already today.
Oh boy.
So she did come to court. I don't even think she had to get dragged today. She got there.
Mm-hmm.
And the very first thing that happened was that we lost a juror. An older gentleman who's a veteran who said that on his way home last night, he basically described some PTSD type symptoms, said
He
this has
did,
happened
yeah.
before and that he needs to deal with it and he needs to be released. And they released him. Good on him,
Poor guy. Jesus.
right?
If he
But
didn't think he had PTSD before after being on
right.
jury for this idiot.
I don't want him to have to go through this. I'm so glad that he did then and didn't force himself through any of this. There are
Yeah.
plenty of jurors, there's plenty of alternates. We're going to be fine. I was glad that he just stood up for himself. This seems like this was
Yeah.
not for him. Yeah. So, of course, we start out with the Prosecutor K opening statement. And we don't have all of it because it was fairly long, but Kristi, you pulled the most important parts. You are muted. Or maybe your mic's not working. Yeah. Okay, so she pulled the most important parts, so we're going to start there. Okay, and we will, yeah, well, let's do it. Let's start here.
Phone. It's a great, you'll be tracked, right? So they bought this burner phone so that Alex would have contact while he drove down here and away. But Alex made a mistake. Because like any other phone, you can still use a burner phone to access Google or your Gmail accounts. And you're going to learn that Alex accessed his Gmail account. In this investigation, you'll learn the police executed many, many search warrants, and one of them was on Alex Cox's Gmail account, homerjmaximus@gmail.com. You're going to learn that Alex searched for things like window tinting in Rexburg, that he searched for places to practice shooting ranges. You're going to learn that he searched different things about angles or trajectories of shots. You're going to learn that the day before, on October 1st and the morning of October 2nd, he searched 3875 East Phelps Street, where Brandon Boudreau lived. You're going to learn that after the shooting, Alex Cox actually searched for directions on how to get away through a back road. He knew he hadn't killed Brandon. Brandon's calling 911, and so he searched for Pine Top, Holbrook, Moab, Utah, Fillmore, Utah, and eventually Idaho Falls as he made his way back through back roads. You're going to learn that the police also executed search warrants on this defendant's Gmail account, lollytimeforever@gmail.com. On September 30th, the day when her brother took her Jeep and started driving down to Arizona, she searched, quote, how to get the back seat out of my Jeep Wrangler. And she also searched a YouTube video, Jeep Wrangler JK rear seat removal, how to DIY YouTube video. This defendant continued to be a co-conspirator and to aid her accomplice, Alex Cox, by searching how to remove that back seat of the Jeep so he could better lie in wait to shoot Brandon. This was the defendant's second mistake, and more evidence of her being a co-conspirator and the premeditation. This defendant also, on September 30th, began aiding Alex by becoming his alibi. You'll hear from Nick Valance, who is an FBI agent who deals with cellular analysis, that around 4:30 p.m. on September 30th, Alex Cox's cell phone, the one that he subscribed to, moved from his apartment in this same complex where he and Lori Vallow lived to Lori Vallow's unit. And from them on for the next couple days, Alex Cox's phone remained with this defendant. Meanwhile, that burner phone from that Idaho Falls Walmart on September 30th started moving towards Arizona. You will hear that on October 2nd of 2019, at about 8 in the morning Arizona time, about an hour before the shooting, this defendant created the alibi. She had Alex Cox's phone call her phone to make it look like he was still in Rexburg, Idaho, instead of in Gilbert, Arizona. That fake call lasted about 24 minutes. Both of those cell phones were using the same cell tower in Rexburg, Idaho.
Can we just take a moment to laugh about what dumbasses these two are? Put that
Yep.
phone right next to hers and made a phone call, answered it, and sat them both there for 24 minutes. No one will be the wiser, guys. No one's ever heard of GPS and cell phone pings and cell towers and Celebrite. Nope. We all know now, though, don't we?
Well, my favorite part is when he gets the burner, but I'm thinking we're getting there.
Yes, it's also hilarious.
This was Lori Vallow's third mistake. More evidence that she was a co-conspirator and of that premeditation to aid her brother in this shooting of Brandon Boudreau. So how do we know, though, that Lori Vallow's Jeep drove from Idaho to Arizona? Well, we're going to start by learning about what we call LPRs, or license plate readers. You will learn and see a photo of Lori Vallow's Jeep in Arizona on October 1st of 2019, up near Holbrook on the I-40. You'll hear that the DEA has a license plate reader there, and they took a photo of Lori Vallow's Jeep with that license plate LWD 0997 on its way to Gilbert, Arizona. You're also going to learn that the police later recovered that Jeep back up in Rexburg, and they did a couple different search warrants on it. And what they recovered inside the Jeep, among other things, was a receipt from October 1st of 2019 from Mesa, Arizona, the day before the shooting, from a restaurant called Los Favoritos out on Power Road. You're going to learn that at the time the burner phone is down here in Arizona. You'll learn that Alex Cox was using his Gmail and Googling an address on Power Road around the time when we then see the receipt. Alex Cox, Lori Vallow's Jeep, and Alex's rifle are here in Arizona waiting to commit this shooting.
I think we actually missed the first part, but we should say it, that they went to the Walmart in Rexburg and they bought old Alex a burner phone. And you know what he did? He signed right into his Homer J. Maximus email and made it, guess what? No longer a burner phone. So that's how they know, because they could track him through his Gmail account. Dumb. Thank you. Scarlett just said dum, just as I said it in the chat. Oh my God. Like, are you serious, dude? Really? You don't even know how to keep a burner?
No.
Also, burners are a lot of times flip phones because they have a lot less technology to track them.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, don't become a criminal. But if you do, get a flip phone.
But
don't sign into shit.
Sign into anything. Kills me that he did that. But also, that phone was purchased in Rexburg, of course. Oh yeah. God, I'm dead over that one. It absolutely kills me that they went and bought a burner phone and he immediately signed into it with his own email.
Yeah.
What a hapless criminal Alex was.
He is not.
Yeah.
No.
Meanwhile, up in Rexburg, on October 1st, this defendant does a little more additional help. She goes to a storage unit in Rexburg, Idaho, and rents unit C52. The next day, on October 2nd, when the shooting is happening down in Arizona, or after the shooting actually, she brings her soon-to-be husband, Chad Daybell, with her. And you will see video of this as she and Chad Daybell put the rear tire and the rear bench seat of that Jeep into the storage unit. Using the storage unit for that Jeep tire and that bench seat so that her co-conspirator, Alex, could lie in wait in the back of the Jeep, waiting for Brandon to return home that morning. This is, again, evidence of that conspiracy and of the premeditation to kill Brandon. So October 2nd, the morning of this shooting, you will see that Alex Cox was Googling that address, 3875 East Phelps Road. His burner phone from Idaho Falls, Idaho, is in
Oh, Idaho Falls, not
Arizona.
Rexburg. Sorry.
He's using his Gmail account.
They were being tricky.
And he is using cell towers around Melanie Boudreau's residence. Now, this is important because Melanie knew that Brandon had their kids. They had 4. She knew that Brandon that morning was going to have to drop off 3 of the kids at school and that they would exchange their youngest. They would meet at a park. Brandon would text Melanie, let her know he was there. She would respond, and they would exchange their youngest child. While Brandon was leaving his house to take his kids to school, that Idaho burner phone moves to his residence and begins waiting for him. Alex kept the Jeep running as he waited for Brandon to return. What Melanie didn't know was that Brandon was going to the gym after dropping off the kids, and so Alex had to wait longer. You'll hear that one of Brandon's neighbors noticed this Jeep. It's a neighborhood that doesn't have any real easy ingress or egress. You'll see a map of it. So there's very little through traffic. And so the neighborhood knows and recognizes most of the same cars. And you'll hear from a neighbor that as he was backing out, he saw this Jeep parked the wrong way on the road, nose to nose with another vehicle that he did recognize. He saw the dark tinting. He saw it was running, and he thought it just stood out as unusual in his neighborhood. It made him actually look into his rearview mirror to note it had a Texas license plate. This was about 30 plus minutes before Brandon arrived home. When Brandon got to the house that day, Alex was ready with the rifle. And we know that he was able to just lift up that back window because the tire wasn't on it. Alex fired 1 shot. Luckily, he did not hit Brandon. You will see that Brandon was driving a Tesla at the time. And unlike many cars, there's no frame around the window. The window just goes into the door, into the car itself. The shot hit the frame of the vehicle, but right where the window goes up into it. And you'll see that there is damage to the window as well as the bullet hole into the frame of the vehicle itself, right above Brandon's head when he was sitting in that driver's seat. You'll hear that when Brandon took off, the window remained in the door, that he drove away and then eventually circled back around and went into his driveway. You'll hear that for a Tesla, when you put the car in park, the door automatically opens and the whole window just shattered out. Brandon was on the phone with 911 soon after the shooting. You'll hear that call, him actually sounding out of breath from the fear. And he waited for the police to arrive. Alex Cox, of course, is Googling how to get out of there and get back to Rexburg, Idaho. And by October 3rd, he was back there. That same day on October 3rd, you will see that Alex Cox and Lori Vallow went back to the storage unit. They removed that rear tire. They removed the rear seat of the Jeep and took it with them. You will again see video of that. You'll also see that they Googled that day, news in Gilbert, shootings of Brandon, to try to find out what the police knew. How did the police figure out that this defendant and Alex Cox were involved? Well, when the police were interviewing Brandon, they asked him if he had any enemies. Who would want to do this? And Brandon told the police the only people he could think of was Lori Vallow and Alex Cox. He told them that Lori had lived in Texas and that the Jeep had a Texas license plate. And he told them about that incident on July 11th of 2019 in Chandler involving Lori Vallow and Alex Cox. And he believed this was all tied together. You'll hear that the Gilbert police reached out to the Chandler Police Department and learned about that Jeep with the Texas plates, LWD 0997, the same plate that was seen on that license plate reader on October 1st coming into Arizona. The Gilbert police learned that Lori Vallow and Alex Cox were living in Rexburg, Idaho, and they reached out to law enforcement there. You'll hear that on November 1st, police in Idaho went to 565 Pioneer Road, that apartment complex, and they saw Lori Vallow, they saw Alex Cox, and they saw Chad Daybell. They didn't see the Jeep that day, and so they went back a few days later on November 4th and saw the Jeep located near Lori Vallow's residence. Tires back on it, rear seat is back in it. You'll hear that they impounded it, and on November 18th, the Gilbert police flew to Idaho to process it. You're going to learn about GSR, or gunshot residue. You're going to learn that they process the vehicle. Basically, they're little sticky kits. GSR is microscopic. You can't see it, so you try to collect it, and then you give it to an expert to look through it. You will hear that those kits were sent to the Phoenix Police Department and reviewed, and that particles indicative of gunshot residue were located on the kits that were tested from the rear of that Jeep Wrangler, and that this is consistent with a gun being fired from the rear of the Jeep. You also hear that the Gilbert Police Department collected DNA from areas like the steering wheel, the gear shift, seatbelt buckles, and that they got a blood blot from Alexander Cox. DNA profiles were created from the steering wheel and other areas around the driver's seat. And the DNA was found to be a mixture, multiple people, but the major contributor was Alexander Cox. Again, you will hear that the police executed multiple search warrants on cell phones.
Lori, was that you?
Cell tower usage, data from Gmail accounts, and data from iCloud accounts. You will see a map of Lori Vallow's cell phone, Alex Cox's cell phone, as well as that burner phone from that Walmart in Idaho Falls, the one that was associated to Alex Cox's Gmail account. You will hear from Nick Balance from the FBI, and he'll show you how that burner phone went from Rexburg, Idaho, down to Gilbert, Arizona, was there for the shooting, and returned back to Rexburg, and was never used again after that. You will learn that the only phone number that burner phone called or received calls from was Chad Daybell, this defendant's soon-to-be husband. The same phone, of course, that was using those cell towers right around Brandon's home at the time of the shooting. This defendant, Lori Vallow Daybell, has been charged with conspiracy to commit the first-degree murder of Brandon Boudreau on October 2nd of 2019. The evidence in this case will prove to you beyond reasonable doubt that this defendant conspired with Alex Cox and others to kill Brandon. She provided the means, the Jeep, she helped get the Jeep ready, and she tried to provide an alibi for her co-conspirator. At the end of this trial, the state will ask you all to hold this defendant accountable and find her guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder. Thank you.
Sounds good, Prosecutor Kay.
Baba boom. Also, I didn't get in here the point in which she does reveal that Melanie Boudreau Pulowski is an unindicted co-conspirator in this case.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unindicted because she's too damn dumb. I'm
Yep.
sorry, but it is true. I would imagine they see her as a victim and not quite swift enough to have figured out what the hell was going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Because that girl is dumb.
Lordy. Yeah. That just makes her so sad.
So stupid.
Never. She will never be indicted. But
Yeah, they're not going to indict her.
no.
But she has, I hope, provided them with information because she's literally the only person that could have given Lori and or Alex Brandon's address.
Yeah, and she's not on the witness list. Yeah.
Nope.
Pretty wild.
And that could be, Gran, I think that's a good point. She was probably saved by Brandon not wanting his kid's mom in jail. And that could very well be.
Mm-hmm.
But that girl wouldn't last 5 minutes in prison.
No. And then we get to Lori.
Oh,
I
don't
have
we,
mixed
though?
feelings about Lori. Well, let's run it and then we'll talk about it. I have
Let's.
mixed feelings about how this went, but
Yeah.
let's watch it and we'll talk about it. Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, here we are at trial. And the judicial system can be difficult to understand at times. There are laws and rules and statutes that govern how things will proceed in this trial. You yesterday got to hear the preliminary jury instruction, so you kind of got an order of how things are going to go. In order for someone to be charged with a crime, as I have been,
Your Honor, I'm going to object to argument versus an opening statement.
I'll remind the defendant, an opening statement should be a preview of what is to be expected at trial. So go ahead.
that law enforcement presents evidence that they gather, and the state prosecutors are going to present that to you. Sometimes the state charges the defendant with a crime. They have charged me with a crime, a very serious crime. Sometimes they take the allegations to a grand jury to decide if the
I'm
defendant
going
should
to
be
object
charged.
again, Your Honor. Improper
That's,
argument. Asked to strike.
Hold on. The jury should disregard that last comment. How the charges arrived here are not for the jury's consideration. The prior proceedings are not for the jury's consideration. Please proceed.
The state or the prosecution will then take the information gathered, the evidence from law enforcement, and present to you a story, a theory, their hypothesis of what happened. In this case, the prosecutor was not present during this alleged crime. The Gilbert Police Department was not present during this alleged crime. So it is their job to fill in the gaps, make up a theory, and present it to you, the jury, at trial. This is their job. They are not witness to the actual events because they weren't there that day with Brandon at the house when this alleged shooting occurred. This case is about a conspiracy. And a conspiracy is when two or more people make an agreement to commit a crime. They have to willingly and knowingly participate. Conspiracy is an ancient word that appears in the Bible on many occasions. Judas conspired against Jesus with the chief priests for
I'm going to
30 pieces of silver.
object to, unless this is being presented at trial, I'm not sure.
Conspiracy is an English word. It is not an ancient word, you dumb bitch. Do you read Hebrew or Aramaic, maybe? An ancient word.
And here we
My
go with the,
God.
did you see it with your eyes? Did you hear it with your ears? Oh,
And
dear
she's
God.
got to get a bunch of biblical shit in a place that's totally inappropriate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That this is appropriate opening.
What is the legal objection?
Well, you're arguing. The opening statement is not argument. I'm going to allow it briefly, but I may cut you off depending on where you're going with that.
Cain conspired against Abel, his brother. This case is a case of conspiracy. The charge against me is that I conspired with my brother, Alex Cox, to murder my niece's husband, Brandon Boudreau. But you will find, as you begin to see the evidence put forth in this case, that there was not any animosity between Brandon and myself. I personally did not have any motivation to have harm come to Brandon. In fact, Brandon and I had a very friendly relationship all of the time that I have known him. I first met Brandon when he was marrying my niece, Melanie.
And Your Honor, I'm going to check to, unless the defendant's
Hold on.
testifying.
Can I have the parties approach briefly? Can I have you approach briefly?
It's funny how quickly that statement is disproven. And even later on in her statement, and then down the line, how that is disproven, the fact that there was no animosity between her and Brandon. She literally divorced Melanie and Brandon.
She did. And what the fuck?
Mhm.
According to who, Lori? You are so epically full of shit.
Mhm.
Well, and what Trina K is saying, unless she's going to testify and that can be questioned, or she can be questioned on that, she cannot be saying that stuff.
I first met Brandon when he was marrying my niece, Melanie. Melanie and I are very close because my sister, her mother, passed away when she was just 9 years old. So Melanie and I think of each other and love each other like a mother and daughter, even though we are aunt and niece. So our families remained close, Melanie and Brandon's family and my family. And in each other's lives, like everyday lives. We spent holidays together and shared in everyday life. I was there for Melanie and Brandon's wedding and for the birth of all 4 of their children. I was also very close to all 4 of their children. In this case, you will hear Brandon himself tell you that someone shot a gun at his car. You will learn in this testimony that Brandon was not hurt. You will learn that he wasn't even sure what had happened. But you will hear that Brandon immediately blamed me. Which begs the question, was I an enemy to Brandon? That is news to me, and hopefully by the end of this trial, we will all have some answers to that question.
Well, you'd already
In this
killed
case,
Charles.
You will learn that Brandon had called 911, and Gilbert Police did respond. You will learn that Brandon speaks of a puke green Jeep, and then he offers the officers a camo green color that he's speaking of on his phone.
Olive. He said
says
olive.
A green Jeep. Then you
Where
will
did she
hear the
get puke
neighbor
from?
who says that
I
it
don't
was
know.
a dark blue Jeep that was parked in front of the neighbor's house.
The neighbor said dark, not
You will
blue,
learn that
just dark.
Brandon very quickly hired a private investigator to find out where I was living out of the state of Arizona so he could inform the police. You will see Brandon exchange email information with Detective Pillar, the case agent in this case, about my whereabouts and about the financial dealings of my niece, Melanie Boudreau. You will learn that Brandon was not particularly satisfied with the investigation that Gilbert Police was conducting, so he did his own investigation, hiring his own private investigator to follow his wife, Melanie Boudreau. You will find out that Brandon had access to the VIN number of a Jeep and gave it to the police.
Yeah.
You will
He
find
did.
out that after that event, he quickly changed his story from a camo green Jeep to a gray Jeep. You will then learn that Brandon continued to provide information he was personally finding out to Detective Pillar, the case agent in this case. You will learn that Detective Pillar and Brandon discussed through email how they can demonstrate Melanie's financial gain if Brandon were to have died around October 2nd, 2019. This is what a conspiracy looks like. 2 people trying to set up another person for a crime. My niece, Melanie Boudreau, is named by the state as a co-conspirator. However, She has not been charged with the crime.
I'm going to object
But
and
I
have that
have.
struck as well, Your Honor.
Jury should disregard that statement. You're going to receive an instruction later that all persons that may be involved would not necessarily be charged or called as witnesses, and you'll follow those instructions later. Go ahead.
I was not living in Arizona at the time this alleged incident happened on October 2nd, 2019. I was not even aware such an event had taken place. I did have a close relationship with my brother Alex, but I was not aware of his every move. Melanie also had a close relationship with Alex, but also was not aware of his location at all times. Brandon and Alex also had a good relationship until this accusation. They saw each other frequently at all of our family parties and get-togethers and would often be seen laughing and talking. Alex was a comedian who kept our family laughing. Alex passed away in December 2019 of natural causes, so he is not here to defend himself.
And I'm going to object again to that as well, since he's not party to this. He's
All
not
right,
here.
I'll just remind the jury that what is said in opening statements is not evidence, it's not sworn testimony. Please proceed.
Although the state has alleged that there are several co-conspirators in this case, I am the only one being charged with a crime. So you will be the judge. You will hear and see evidence presented by the state. The state has, according to the law, 100% burden to prove to you
And I'm
that
going
a
to object to misstatement
crime-
of the law in terms of 100%.
All right, again, this is a little bit bordering on argument, but the jury will receive the instructions on what is and what is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
the state has the burden to prove that a crime has been committed here and that I committed that crime. That is the way the law is written. I do not have to show any evidence or put up a defense. I do not have to testify. That is the law. The prosecutors from the state have to prove to you that I conspired, meaning made an agreement with my brother to murder Brandon. So you will decide. Right now, according to the law, I am innocent. I remain innocent until the state of Arizona and its prosecutors show you enough evidence to convince you that I had anything to do with this alleged crime. And I want you to look carefully and determine if this event was a crime at all. Did a shooting actually occur? Only Brandon claims that it did. Only Brandon names me and Alex. You will learn that Brandon himself did own a gun. You will learn that Brandon knew how to shoot his gun. You will learn that Brandon and Melanie were going through a divorce. And you will learn that even though Brandon is the one who actually filed for a divorce, he was blaming me for his divorce. You will learn that the information that the Gilbert Police Department and Detective Pillar, the case agent on this case, learned about me and my brother Alex was from Brandon Boudreau. You will learn that Brandon and Detective Pillar communicated frequently and were on a first-name basis. I want you to look closely at the motivation of Brandon and the Gilbert Police Department, because I'm the only one charged with the crime, and I need you to decipher what really happened here, because I'm the only one who's being asked to pay a consequence for this
And
crime.
again, Your Honor, I'm going to ask to object and strike that. There's
Sustained, the jury in their instructions received an instruction that said the jury is not to consider a penalty. That will be in the final instructions there as well. The jury's job is to determine whether or not the state has proved the case beyond a reasonable doubt or the charge beyond a reasonable doubt. Go ahead, proceed.
You will hear many references during this trial about the state versus Lori Daybell. Well, who is the state? The state are the prosecutors.
I object to argument and relevance.
Sustained.
And you, the jury, are brought in to stand between the state and me.
And I'm going to object again to improper statement of the law,
What?
argument and relevance.
Sustained.
What a thing to say.
You are here to say if a crime has even been committed at all. You are here to say if I committed this very crime and if the state proved this to you beyond a reasonable doubt. If at the end of this trial you have reasonable doubt, then I remain innocent. If the state does not prove to you that I, 1, committed a crime, and 2, committed this crime, then I remain innocent. In this case, you will hear a lot of speculation. The definition of speculation is an idea or guess about something that is not known. During this trial, the state will try to convince you that I committed this crime by using speculation, innuendo, and insinuation. And the state is hoping that this will be enough. In this trial, you will in fact witness a power struggle between the state and the defendant
Your Honor,
for
I'm
what
gonna
a fact
object to
really
argument.
is.
Sustain.
Because they want to convince you, the jury, that a fact is speculation, that a fact is innuendo, that a fact is insinuation, that they knew what I was thinking, what I was feeling, what I was planning, when they don't know it all. You, the jury, have all the power to decide what the facts are and what they're not. Not the state, not the judge, not law enforcement. You. So I implore you to listen carefully and decide for yourselves if the state's theory really makes logical sense. What motivation did I have? What malice have I ever shown to anyone? What benefit would I gain? I am a person who loves all people and has no malice towards anyone, not even the prosecutors who wrongfully try to convict me.
Your Honor, I'm going to object again to relevance and to argument.
Sustained.
Look at the smirk.
I am
4
all about spreading
murders,
love and will
bitch.
continue to
Yeah.
do so, even after this trial is complete, no matter the result. Thank you.
All right, the state can call its first witness.
So I don't know if you already hated her or not, but
But that'll do it.
wow. I have lots of thoughts on this. I mean, first and foremost, holy shit, Lori. Holy shit.
You know
Trying to
she
come
knows
off-
better because she didn't do it this. She didn't fuck it up this bad in the first
Mm-mm.
trial.
And the smirking.
The smirking.
But I will say this, and maybe this will be an unpopular opinion, but I think that the state objected too much.
I do
think
too.
this is very early in the game. The jury doesn't know what to think. They don't know how very over Lori, Trina K is, and everybody else. And
Right.
I think that this early in the game, you've got to be careful not to come across as the bully, as the bad guy, as exactly what Lori was just standing up there telling you. I even forgive the prosecutors. Yeah.
I know it's disgusting, but yeah, I agree. The only trial I've ever seen where there was this much objecting was Sarah Boone.
Yes.
In the opening statements and closing statements, there was
closing.
a ton because he was up to all kinds of bullshit. Her attorney was
Mhm.
up to all kinds of bullshit, trying to show, like, remember all the pictures, the giant poster boards and all that
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
and misquoting the law and those kinds of things.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, she did do a lot of things she wasn't supposed to. So I get that, but I think you got to be a little bit careful. You don't want the jury to think that you're the big bad bully this early in the game.
I think some of it was intentional on Lori's part. I think the smirking indicated that she played right into her hand. She was trying to get her
To piss her
to
off.
do that because she wants the jury to see, the state as the big bad guy. Now, over time, will that matter? I don't fucking think it will.
Probably not, because then immediately we get Brandon on the stand. And he was fantastic.
He was.
He was credible. He was sincere. He came across as being very honest and intelligent. He was emotional. I mean, Brandon, in my opinion, was a fantastic witness. and really brought everything to the jury that the jury needed to see.
He really did. He really did a
Yeah.
fantastic job. I was impressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, look at this, you guys.
Yeah.
This
there
is
it
where the
is.
bullet went into his car. Look at where that is in relation to the driver's seat.
Mhm.
Holy shit.
It's a miracle Brandon is alive. An
It
absolute
is.
miracle.
If it had not caught the door frame there the way that it did and was just barely lower, it would have gone right into Brandon's head.
Yeah. Yeah. Several of you have asked, what is the clerk, she's actually probably the stenographer, doing with the black thing up to her mouth? She's speaking. She's taking the record rather than typing. Her job is to speak into to put everything on the record.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having that job. Huge props to her.
Right.
I'm too distractible. There's no way. But
Yeah.
every time I see these guys doing that work, I'm like, holy shit, man. You've got to have
Just the
such
intensity
good
of it
focus. Yeah.
has got to be. That's why it's like, well, we need to give everyone a break. You know who they need to give a break to? That chick right there. That's who needs a break.
Yeah. I bet these days are just exhausting.
Yeah,
But yeah, someone said you've got to have a pretty special skill set for that. And I think most definitely, yeah.
I would imagine, yeah.
You know, occasionally you see a job come across you that you're like, oh shit, I'd be horrible at that. But that would be it for me.
Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I would want to be reacting. It's so hard to not react to what's being said.
Right. Or get lost in your thoughts on, lots of different things. Like it would be very easy to just kind of go away, Well, I mean, it would for me at least. But at any rate. So, but this is what's great because Lori, I love everyone and I've never had any malice towards anyone ever. And me and Brandon were BFFs, everybody. And then the first thing the prosecutor does is get Brandon on the stand. And one of the first things they discuss is how they were not BFFs. Why? Because she essentially broke up his marriage. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't take two and there wasn't probably more problems than what came, today, but this was way back in the summer that he and Melanie had a big fight, a big argument that went on, he said, for like many, many hours because Melanie started rolling out all of this stuff to him, like using language he'd never heard before, talking about things he was unfamiliar with, basically spewing back to him all these things that Lori and Chad had been saying to her. First of which, she said that God told her that Brandon is gay, which was news to Brandon. And we also know that Chad had said early on, we know that at one point Chad had told them that he had received revelation that Brandon was gay. There's also a picture of Brandon in a bar at some point that they used as a case in point for that, which is just stupid, but that's okay. But we know that happened. So what happened from there is that fight just kept escalating, and then she started accusing him of hacking into Lori's computer, that Lori knows that you did that, and we know what you've been up to. And Brandon is dumbfounded. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? I don't even know how to hack into computers. Like, what? And yet this is the stuff that she is hanging on to. And finally, by the end of the night, she's asking for a divorce. And he was completely floored. He did not want a divorce. This wasn't at all the way he wanted his family to change, but that's what happened. He even texted Lori and tried to confront her about it, hoping that she would just, get some integrity and tell the truth. But of course, that's not what happened. Yeah.
No, it isn't. But yeah, I mean, right off, you're like, oh, you and Brandon were best buds? Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think so, man. Brandon was like, and the thing with Brandon is everything that he says is very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
It's very adult and appropriate.
Yeah.
There was no name calling or just bratty, shitty behavior like Lori has.
No.
Like he was just a grown up telling, this is the experience I had in my life. And it's so much more credible. And here's the other thing. If you have to tell people you're a good person and you have no malice, you ain't a good person and you got malice. Like, people like Lori don't understand that most people would never have to tell someone that because they would know it about them automatically.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go around telling people you're a good person if you're a good person.
Right.
It's people who are not, who will try to convince you that they are a good person. And man, that was wild to me in that, like, I have no malice for anyone, except that this is my third trial. And I've already been convicted of 4 first-degree murders because I am a murderous bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the jury doesn't know that. But the jury has got to have a lot of questions about an incident that happened in Chandler, Arizona on July 11th. Because that has come up a bunch of times today.
Yeah. They can't say what happened, but they're saying that something happened. Yeah.
Yes. Something happened, that they had record of that Jeep being at Lori's house on that day.
Mm-hmm.
It was the incident on July 11th that made Brandon think that Lori and Alex had something to do with this shooting. It's going to be one of those things where eventually they're going to start asking that question and they can't tell them.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I mean, Brandon...
A tiny slip on Lori, too, when she said that she even forgives all of the prosecutors. Yeah. I thought that was kind of telling. I wondered if anyone on the jury went, how many prosecutors are we talking about here? Because prosecutor Kay's right there all by herself. A lot of prosecutors? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That I thought was kind of interesting. So, you know, Brandon lays out the story. He came home. He took the kids to school and to Melanie. The handoff between him and Melanie and the youngest. She wouldn't even be basically in his presence, you know. He was dark and a zombie and shit. So the little one had to walk across the park to mom to prove that he had. So ridiculous.
He had to just stand there and watch to make sure she got there safely.
Because Melanie did not want him at her house, you know. So he comes home from the gym, and of course this Jeep is there, and it is backed right or pulled right up very close to a van that normally sits there at his neighbor's, and parked the wrong direction. Like, this was not inconspicuous at all, and he thought it was really weird that van or that Jeep was parked there like that, and wondered
almost sticking into his driveway.
Yeah,
like, so obvious.
Yeah. And then, of course, as he's starting to, pull up to his house, there's a blast through his window. Can you imagine how startling that must have been? How frightening?
Terrifying.
And he did see the hatch come up or the window, and he did see a barrel of a gun. Those are the things that he saw. And then he just accelerated and drove on past because he didn't know what else to do. Somebody was literally trying to shoot him. He called 911. He drove as far as not very far, but just down the block to like a neighborhood pool area and talked to dispatch. Of course, he ends up back at the house at some point. And the Jeep, of course, speeds away. And as we know, Alex is in the Jeep trying to get directions as to how to get back to Rexburg, Idaho, which is where he immediately goes.
Right.
And of course, the police come and they do their investigation. I mean, that was pretty much the crux of it. He talks about how, he had talked about how he didn't want to get divorced, how, these things that happened in his family weren't things that he wanted. Right. But that when he was talking to the detectives and they asked him if he had any enemies, then the only thing that came up for him was Charles's murder or death at that point. Charles's death that seemed so sketch, and that maybe those two, after all the lies they had told and split up his marriage, perhaps it was them. He knew right away. He knew right away.
But he first thought the gun was a goddamn paintball gun.
Can you believe
because it is the same gun that Alex tried to kill Tammy Daybell with. And it had a suppressor thing on the barrel.
He said that, but he also said he heard a shotgun blast, which I thought was interesting.
Well, because he's terrible at this, and that didn't work that time, and
Right. Well, it was homemade.
And then the whole thing jammed up on him when he tried to shoot Tammy Daybell. But we were back to, oh my God, we're going to have the paintball gun discussion again?
I know. I thought every time Every time the word paintball is spoken, John Pryor's head snaps around. I can just
Right.
tell.
And I think for him, initially also just sort of shock and disbelief.
Right.
And also because it didn't break the window out, it spiderwebbed the window.
Yeah.
But it didn't break the window. Like the glass didn't fall in on him.
Mm-hmm.
It just shattered it, and he heard the loud noise.
Yeah.
And he didn't know until after he'd made the 911 call and got back to his house and out of the car that the car actually had a bullet hole in it right here.
Yeah.
And this kind of Tesla, and I had a car like this. I fucking hated this. The door, it's like a half door. It doesn't have a frame that goes around the window. The window just goes up and goes into the frame of the car itself.
Mm-hmm.
So that bullet went through the frame of the car, spiderwebbed the window, and fragmented the bullet on the car's frame. And so that's where some confusion has been, is at first he didn't know what happened, what was fired at him.
But thank God that's where the bullet hit. That's what saved his life.
It's literally like, if it had been a half an inch lower, he'd be dead.
Yeah.
But so the window's up in the frame, it breaks the window right there, and then the window spiderwebs.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm
Right,
confused. It was a tire iron. Right. Oh my God. Lori.
So once we're done with Brandon, and I wanted to tell just a little bit more of the story because we didn't, there are some things that'll never be said in trial, but
I do have the 911 call whenever you want to do that too.
Oh, let's do that. And then we'll talk about a little bit about what happened after.
Yeah. Okay, here it is.
Gee, I moved to a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove?
October 2nd, 2019. 9 hours, 14 minutes, 53 seconds.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, where
they're in a Jeep. I'm in the Cooley Station neighborhood. I was pulling in my house at 38755 East. But I can see them driving off.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window. It shattered my driver's side window.
Okay, when you pulled into his driveway?
As I was trying to pull into my driveway.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little off breath. They just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Okay. Do you know who these people are?
I have no idea. I moved into a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove away?
Jeep Wrangler, had a Texas plate on it.
Jeep Wrangler?
It was olive green.
Olive green?
Olive,
Okay.
not puke. Olive.
Hold on just a second. Texas license plate?
Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't get the plate. I'm sorry. I got a little nervous.
That's okay. That's all right. Oh, which way did they go? Do you remember?
They're driving south towards Pecos Road, between Pecos and Wrecker.
Okay. Okay. Do you don't see the vehicle anymore?
No, they left. They drove off.
Did you see how many people were in the Jeep? Sir?
Yeah.
Hello? Oh, did you see how many people were in the Jeep?
There must have been at least 2 because somebody shot at me and then somebody else drove off, and I don't think they had enough time to go climb from the back into the front.
Right. Okay. And then do you have any injuries? Did they shoot at you?
They shot at me, it hit my window, it bounced off. It might not have been a real gun. It was loud, but it might have been like a paintball gun or something. It should have hit me or gone through my window. It just shattered it. It didn't go through.
Okay. Okay. And your window is shattered?
Yeah,
Okay. And you have no idea who these people are?
no idea.
Are you okay?
They were just parked like right in front of my house.
Okay. They were parked out. So they were parked across the street in front of your house?
In front, right on the same side of the street as my house, right in front. There's a minivan there. They're just parked right in front of that.
Okay.
I'm pulling into my house because they're gone.
Okay. Where are you at right now?
In my car.
Where are you at?
Window.
In my car at my house at 38
Okay.
East Phelps Street. I'm going to walk over here and see if I can see what they shot at me.
And what kind of car were you in?
I'm in a black Tesla Model X.
It's a black what?
Tesla Model X.
Okay, black Tesla Model X. Okay. Okay. All right. I do have officers on the way to meet you. Do you want to go inside or do you want to wait outside wherever you feel?
I'll wait out here. Yeah, I don't know that it was a real gun. Maybe it was. I can't tell. I don't think it was because we should have gone through my window.
Okay. All right. And what is your name?
My name's Brandon Boudreau.
And your phone number? Okay. Okay. I'm going to stay on the line with you just to make sure you're safe, just in case they come back. Do you have any weapons on you?
No.
Okay. Okay. Do you see the officer pulling up?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay. Looks like he's coming up Phelps. You said 3875 East Phelps, correct?
Correct. I wonder if he's on, there's another section of it. He might be on another section.
Okay, because, yeah, his car is showing right near Fisher Lane and Phelps Street.
I'm at, what is the cross street? Sorry, I just moved over here. Yeah, I'm at Fisher and Phelps. I don't see it.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. It's funny. His car was showing there for a second, and now it's showing back at Higley and Pecos. So that's kind of weird.
Wonder if he saw the Jeep drive off or something.
Maybe. I know that there's actually an officer that's heading towards you, and then there's other officers that are dispatched that are looking for the car. So we've got several guys looking out for the car, but we have one headed towards your house.
Okay.
I think he accidentally hit his arrive button is what happened because he's still moving. So just out of nowhere, did you see the guy that
I didn't see who it was. It was weird because I was pulling in and I saw a Jeep, Texas plate, and I thought, oh, that's weird. You know, my neighbor must have someone visiting, and then they like lifted up their little back window in their Jeep, and I saw like a muzzle, and then I heard a snap, and my window shattered. So I just, instead of turning into my driveway, I just hit the gas and drove off because I didn't know. And kind of when I got my bearings, I realized I should call 911.
Okay.
So then I drove, and then I didn't drive very far. I just drove around the corner and waited for you guys to pick up, and then I kind of saw them come around the corner and go down the road and start driving down south towards Pecos and Brecker.
Okay. And did they look like Hispanic?
And I knew that was the
males,
only way
white
out.
males?
I didn't see a person at all. I didn't get to see a person.
Okay.
I knew there was only one way out of Pecos Manor, and that's down there on Pecos Road, so that's why I told you that.
Okay. All right. I do see the officer pulling up on Fisher from Fairview.
Okay. So he's coming from the other way. He'll come around right now. I'll see him in just a sec.
Okay.
Yeah, I see him.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and let you go.
Okay. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So apparently to the first responding officer, he does say puke green then. It's on the call that he does not.
Well, and the neighbor says dark. And let's just be honest. How many men do you know that can tell the difference between a bunch of different colors that look a lot the same? The Jeep is actually gray. But I don't know
that happened too
about any men
fast.
you know.
Yeah.
They don't differentiate.
Well, and it happened so fast, It's not like you look at any given thing on any random day and go, I should remember exact details about that because
Right.
I might need to know for court. But
He's freaking in shock. Somebody just fired a gun at him.
definitely. So a little piece of the story that won't be shared in this courtroom probably is that after this happened, Brandon took the kids and he basically went into hiding. He ended up taking the kids to his parents' house in Utah because he didn't trust Melanie with them for very good reason.
Yeah.
Melanie was making a lot of decisions that didn't make sense. Someone tried to kill him. She was deeply aligned with Lori and Chad and Alex, and he didn't feel like they were safe. And so he took them. So in November of 2019, just a month after he was shot at, she showed up at his parents' house with guess who? Alex. And the first time she came and tried to get the kids, she was rejected and left. And then she came back later that night having an absolute fit at their door, screaming, crying, pounding. And guess who's with her? Alex, trying to make them give her back the kids. She caught a charge from that and went on probation.
She did. Yeah.
That's how crazy this whole thing got. But the fact that Brandon and his kids are all still alive, thank God.
It's a miracle.
It was, first of all, with Brandon just being saved by the way the shot came in, honestly.
Yeah.
And that Alex was a terrible shot and never really knew what he was doing with his guns. But also the fact that he was wise enough to immediately jump into action and make his kids safe and himself.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Alex was with her when that happened.
Yeah.
Yep. He drove her there from Rexburg.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Because in the midst of all of this happening, she moved to Rexburg, where Lori and Alex were living.
And then almost immediately, of course, married Ian Pulowski, which was also a huge shock to everyone around her because she'd only known him for like a month. It was really, really fast. Yeah.
Well, she had to be married to be part of the 144,000.
Yep. Yep. So that was with Brandon. So then we are expecting a cross with Lori. But nay. Lori is still hell-bent on creating chaos in court.
She really
think
is.
that what she learned from the first trial was ways that she could manipulate the system and be a problem, because that's what she's doing right now. In every way that she possibly can, she's just creating havoc. Apparently, her investigator is MIA. You remember in the first trial, she had an investigator that was in charge of various tasks for her, right? Where is he? Well, she doesn't know. She couldn't get a hold of him yesterday. She was unable to get a hold of him this morning. And supposedly, he has her file of investigations on Brandon. And she's got to have that in order to cross Brandon, which really makes me wonder, what kind of evidence does she have? Is it even going to be admissible? What is she doing?
It's going to be about the fact that Brandon hired a private investigator to investigate Lori and Melanie.
Yes.
And to help investigate this situation, because he realizes now that Charles Vallow was murdered. And then the same guy who murdered Charles Vallow just tried to murder him. Yeah. And I'll tell you, at the time, the cops, not doing shit about it. I think Brandon went, I've got the dough for this. I'm going to get somebody on it because I can't trust that these people are going to protect me.
And also, what the hell is going on here? Yes.
Right.
I'm sure it's about that and any other way she can use to try to defame him, because that's pretty much all she's got.
Yep.
Through the course of Brandon and Melanie's divorce, Melanie's attorney ran a smear campaign on Brandon that was jaw-dropping, making a bunch of claims that I'm not going to make because I know he's litigious, and Brandon, don't sue us, we're your friends. But said some really horrible, unfounded things about Brandon, made some terrible accusations about him and his family. And that attorney, who, by the way, is also Zulema's attorney and Summer's attorney, really making the rounds, he was sued by Brandon Boudreau, and he lost and was ordered to pay Brandon $12 million.
For defamation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, don't fuck with Brandon, man.
No,
He's not going to allow it.
he can afford good attorneys, so
And more
you're
power
not.
to him. My God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why these people thought it was okay to just completely dismantle his entire life for
Yeah.
their bullshit.
Mm-hmm. But his
He didn't just
investigator
call
was
him
good.
gay. He called him some other really terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you know, because gay
Yeah.
isn't terrible, but you can see that Brandon is very sensitive about being called gay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he is a Mormon man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, lots of accusations by an attorney that really should have known better. But at any rate, that's a little bit more of a peek into how that all went down. It has been messy, super messy, and I think Brandon's
Yeah,
just
it
been trying to
has.
hold his shit together. Yeah.
Definitely. And try to keep his kids safe and try to
Mhm.
maintain normalcy for them
For sure.
through all of this insanity. Because they
Yeah.
were little kids, young
Yeah.
elementary, toddler, and baby
Mm-hmm.
when this all
ones.
went down.
Yeah. So, uh, with all of that being said, with Brandon, now we have a cross from Lori that Lori swears she just cannot do. Can I do it another day? So that mean ass judge who's been so super, super unfair to her said yes.
Yeah.
In another
Let her
display of
wait.
him being super, super, super fair to her,
Right.
yeah, he said, yeah, we can wait. He even said, if I need to get involved to get your guy here, I will do that. Because, like, that's
mean-
not done. What the hell is going on?
Well, remember who's paying that guy's bill, and it is the state of
The
Arizona.
state. Yeah.
So, yeah, he's got to show up and turn his shit over to her. He's
Mhm.
been paid to do it. I'm sure this guy is incredibly tired of Lori.
I'm sure
But you
he
can't
is
just
too,
not show up with your shit when she's
This
in
is-
trial.
yeah, this is not done. So it really does make you wonder. You know, I mean, we've laughed about, yeah, maybe she's just had it with her, you know, he's done with her, but that's not it. That can't be it. He's putting his professional name on the line here to just not show up in a very high profile case. I just don't see it.
It's weird. And the
What's
weird thing is
going
that
on?
he's been there.
Yeah.
A ton.
A ton.
We've seen him in court with her a lot. So it's like,
Mhm.
God, did he have an accident or get
That's
really
my
sick or
thought.
something
Have we
happened?
started
Maybe,
calling the
maybe he got the
hospitals
plague
yet?
from her.
Right. Have we started calling the hospitals yet? Is he in jail? Do you know?
It is weird because, yeah, they'd called
Yeah.
him, emailed him, nothing.
Mm-hmm. Nothing. And it sounds as though that's not really like him. So I'm super curious to see. Frankly, I hope he's okay. It's a very strange thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But I think we were all bummed to miss whatever
Yeah.
the hell she's going to say to him. Is she going to ask him about her green chili chicken enchiladas?
I hope
The
so.
world wants to know.
I hope so. He's, I'm sure, all prepped to be like, you cook? No idea.
New phone, who dis? What?
All I've ever had is your mac and cheese and hot dogs. Not that great. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's out doing Tylenol. Maybe he is. It seems like that's what she's doing.
Right.
So, yeah, so they decided to just move on and cross him on another day. Wild. So
Yeah,
then we go to
very.
lunch and we come back and we have law enforcement on the stand. Trina she is whipping through. Prosecutor Kay. She is moving through this really quickly. As promised, this isn't going to last very long.
I bet we're done by the end of the week. The end of next week.
Next
I
week,
really
I think
we
so
will
too. Yeah. So the first person they bring on actually is a landlord.
be. Yeah.
Basically just to establish that it's not a dangerous neighborhood. There's not too many things, you know, going on in that neighborhood, that there's random shootings and stuff. And that was pretty much it. It was pretty tame. And Lori chose not to ask her any questions, which I really didn't think that, you know, she would. What would you ask? Well, who knows with her, but yeah.
Could have been a lot of things. Somebody said she did one of these to her, that Lori did this to the landlord. I don't know if it was intentional, if it was
Well, I
just
thought the landlord did it
trying
to Lori. No?
Oh, I thought it was Lori did it to landlord. I don't know. Somebody
I
say.
don't know.
I figured it was just to, because she
Mhm.
periodically remembers she's supposed to be dangerously ill. So
Yeah. Then we get Robert. I'll never say it. Abatamarco. That seems about right. Robert rented a home on the same street where Brandon was. He talked about never having any issues on this street and that he knew what vehicles belonged to the neighbors. He talked about he wasn't working the day that this happened. He said he went to the gym at 9 a.m. Uh, it took him 5 to 10 minutes to get there. He left around 8:40. He said he normally paid attention to that van that was parked on the street. I think probably so he didn't, hit it. He said that he noticed
it was
another
sort of across
vehicle.
from his driveway.
Yeah, so he noticed another vehicle, and it was the Jeep. So he talks about seeing this Jeep. It was running. It had tinted windows. He said he didn't see anyone in it, but it was right from the back of his driveway. I'm guessing that Alex was already laid out in the back.
He must have been.
So he
Because
did
remember,
notice.
Melanie knew he was going to drop off the baby at a certain time, but didn't know Brandon was going to go to the gym then before going home.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He says that he saw that it was a Texas license plate, but he didn't write down the number. That's about all they had for him. Lori had nothing. The jurors had nothing. So we move on to Nolan McDermott. He's a sergeant with the Gilbert Police Department. He talks about, being on the scene, talking to other people, looking at the damage, starting to gather up bullet fragments and that kind of stuff. Pretty typical police work, in an instance like this. And Lori on cross tried to make him say that the damage to the car and the window could have been made by being hit by a crowbar. He didn't really let her go there. I thought he was a pretty good witness. He frequently
very
made
calm.
her, and he made her like spell it out when she was asking him leading questions and stuff. He really didn't. He didn't play into her bullshit at all. He really made her. He wouldn't assume anything, which I thought was really good. I thought he was a pretty good witness. There were things he couldn't remember, but again, this was 4 years ago, so.
Well, and 6?
No, 6 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's this whole thing about, so when the bullet hit the car door, it fragmented.
Yeah.
And they have pieces of it, but they don't have the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because it hit the door, it hit the car's frame.
Yeah.
That is hard steel, you know what I mean? And so they have pieces of bullet, but not the whole bullet. And so she started asking about, well, did you test it?
Yeah.
To prove it was a bullet?
Again. Yep.
And this guy has been a cop for 18 years and damn well knows what bullet fragments look like. Like,
right.
no, it was bullet fragments.
Like, test it for what?
Yeah.
Just like the last trial, everything demanding, did they test this? Did they test that? And
what time did you get here? What time did you do that? What time, blah, blah, all the time shit. But they're like, I don't know. I was there to investigate till I was done investigating.
Such a page out of Archibald's book. He does a lot of that, just trying to make them seem less credible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was even trying to make him decide, like, tell her exactly what size some of the fragments were. And he's like, I don't know. Well, were they larger or smaller than a dime? And he's like, well, I really don't know, But yeah, just kind of that similar stuff.
Well, and some individual piece of glass that they found in the street, because there was some glass in the street that shattered off the window, where the bullet hit.
Yeah.
And she wanted to know if maybe that could have just been from a Coke bottle somebody threw in the street. And I'm like, what is this, 1927? A Coke bottle?
Yeah.
Who's got a Coke bottle made out of glass, lady?
Yeah. Well, and then they because Brandon drove down the street and back, they had to search that whole area to see if they could find any fragments. They even used a metal detector to make sure that they gotten as many as they could. They just
They
felt like they
did.
did. So we have the shattered window, we have the hole in the car, and we have a handful of fragments. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
they have as far as, ballistics. They couldn't really get a good read on trajectory. And she asked him a lot of trajectory questions, and he's kind of like, it's not really my field of expertise, but, she's really, I don't know if it's bad for that, but, she does that a lot. She's constantly asking the wrong person the wrong question.
The
But
problem is that she doesn't then come back with defense witnesses that rebut those kinds of things.
no,
She's got it only halfway. She doesn't
Mhm.
have the other part of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So when she's done with him, we move on to David Ferrer. He is a detective for the Gilbert police. I liked Ferrer a lot.
Oh,
He was
yeah.
well spoken. I always like him when they get on the stand. They're like, "Hello, good afternoon. My name is Detective David Ferrer, and I've been with the police department for a billion years." And looks
Well,
right
and
at
he
the
was looking
jury.
at the
And
jury. Yeah.
uh-huh, they're just very well spoken and clear. Liked Ferrer a lot. And he started going through basically the same stuff. We're talking about the ballistics and the evidence right now, and we're mostly restating, the same stuff over and over.
When he talked very knowledgeably about the bullet fragments and how
Yeah.
he knew they were bullet fragments and about how hot a bullet is when it comes out of a gun and
Mm-hmm.
how it melted the weather stripping stuff and like that you
Yeah.
could really see that that was most definitely a bullet hole,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of reasons that he, obviously knows because he does know.
Yeah. Yeah. Lori was hitting him up on where was the casing? Did they have a casing?
The
They don't
casing
have
would
a
have been in the
casing. The
Jeep.
casing would have been in the Jeep. Yeah. And he's like, well, there's no
It's
scientific but we've heard this before from other trials. You don't know where the casing is going to go. It's very random. It could bounce off of something. The wind could be blowing a certain way. Depending on the trajectory, the angle the gun was being held. There's a lot of things that would affect where the casing went. Obviously, in this case, the casing stayed in the Jeep, which I would have
right.
expected from how this was fired.
She kept saying that, but she doesn't understand that she's not asking about the right thing. The bullet
Hmm.
fragments would be outside the Jeep, but yeah, not the casing.
No,
Dum dum.
no, but she was trying to act like that was some kind of a smoking gun, if you will.
Yes.
That they didn't have the casing. I think it's very easy to, talk about why you wouldn't.
Hmm.
Ferrer talks about them picking up on photos of Alex's truck, and it's or seeing Alex's truck with the his personalized plate, and
Captain
again,
Quint.
yeah, CP Quint.
Alex, why you got to be ruining my favorite movie of all time like that?
Hmm.
That's not your movie to have. Murderous dead guy.
Yeah. Also,
It's Jaws, if you don't know.
when they searched Alex's truck, they found a letter from Chad Daybell to Alex in it. What do you want to bet? What do you think it is?
It's
It's
that
gotta be.
stupid patriarchal blessing.
It has to be. Yep. That was my thought
$1,000.
too. It's gotta be
Yeah.
the patriarchal blessing. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ferrer took a lot of pictures at the crime scene. He doesn't know how many. Lori said more than 20, less than 100. He said probably. Pretty big
Ooh,
range there,
smoking
Lori.
gun. Innocent.
Yep.
What?
She again starts nailing him down about the size of the fragments and if they tested them. And again, he's trying to explain like, no, and what would we test them for? And
And he was very clear about these are all the reasons why I know those were bullet fragments that we found in the weather stripping of the frame of the car. Like,
Mhm.
he was very clear on why, in fact, in his gajillion years of experience, he knows bullet fragments when he sees them.
Yeah, he was great. I thought he was great. I don't think the jury has any question whatsoever that that was a bullet.
No.
She
It
didn't
also,
really.
what they show, the biggest part of it, very much looks like a bullet fragment. Like, even to me, and who am I?
Right.
Just some dumb girl on the internet. So I don't know.
But it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the other thing that we learned today is that Lori has filed yet again to have the judge removed from her case. Apparently that was filed yesterday. It hit the docket today at lunchtime. It was discussed. The judge looked so fucking disgusted.
Goreski didn't even know it had been filed, and she tells
Yeah.
him, and he goes, again? And then he goes, okay, we'll just pass that off to Judge Green, and we'll see what she wants to do with it. Oh my God. You know it's about this whole, she was too sick to be in court, and he made her, forced her.
You bet
It's
it is.
just not fair, guys.
Yeah,
And the judge, that judge is going to be like, listen, bitch, we've had enough of this shit. Quit filing this crap.
I have a lot of questions for Lori on that. What do you think is going to happen? Do you really think another judge is going to hop right into the seat and you're just going to carry on? No, girl, your trial is going to be postponed by many months if this were to actually happen, which it won't. But if it were to happen,
changing a
that's what
judge
would happen.
in the midst of trial, it would have to be egregious to do that.
But so then it makes you wonder, is she doing this because she thinks that the delay it would cause would give her another opportunity to try and get the whole damn thing thrown out because of a violation of her rights to a speedy trial? Because, sister, that's not going to work. That's not going to happen.
Right?
Or is she just
like,
being a brat? Like, it's
or
so
is she just like,
stupid.
well, you've crossed me, so now...
Yeah.
I bet she's not thinking far out about it at all. She's just pissed that he hasn't given her way, and she's getting back at him.
So we haven't seen it yet. I cannot wait to read this. Cannot wait. Wonder if it's handwritten. I'll bet it is. I can't imagine that her advisory team is like, yeah, keep doing this, you know. So is it going to require a hearing? It might. And if it does, I'm guessing there'll be an early morning hearing tomorrow before trial starts for the judge, the presiding judge, to make another ruling on this.
She may just rule on paper, though, honestly.
Maybe she will after the second, yeah.
Whereas she's already
We don't
ruled on this issue before. I don't know.
Yep. So, right, it does show her vindictiveness. Agree. Definitely agree. So, yeah. So yet again, but again, it just seems like this whole proceeding, this is her last hurrah. This is her last time to audition for Dancing with the Stars, guys.
It really is.
So she's just going to cause as much chaos in the courts as she possibly can.
I think that's definitely a big part of it, is just she's going to stick it to him for as long as she can.
It sure seems like it. But I think the judge is doing a good job at just moving things along. I think the state is doing an amazing job at moving things along. I mean, we got through... Well, I want to say 4 witnesses today, but not quite. But since we still have a cross.
Well, yeah. I mean, Prosecutor Kay is very quick and succinct. It's something I really appreciate about her. And I mean, she's not going to take very long to present her case.
No, and there's sure a lot of evidence. I think Lori's pretty cooked on this, but
there is,
that's where it's at.
Because I mean,
can the judge hit the stun belt? I mean, I don't think he has the. I don't
he
think
sure
has the
probably
remote.
wants to.
That's the
though.
bailiff. How many murder trials have you guys seen, or attempted in this case, a conspiracy to commit? Have you seen where the defendant gets to approach the judge at the bench?
Right. I know.
Never.
The
only other time I've ever seen that is Kyle Rittenhouse. And that judge acted like he was going to take that kid home with him. But in this case...
He wanted to kiss him square on the lips, and we all know it.
Yet again, right? Jesus. But the way in this one, she's allowed right now to just approach the bench and walk right up to the judge. Boy, that doesn't happen.
No.
But please, tell me some more about how unfair he's being to her. It's so outrageous.
Right. It is. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. Oh, Karen Reed allows that too? Ah, interesting. Yeah. I mean, in most cases, the defendant, they're not allowed anywhere near the judge.
Right.
And I know she's pro se. It's a little bit different, but I'll tell you who wasn't allowed anywhere near the judge. Darrell F.
Daryl
Brooks.
Brooks.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it.
She didn't allow any of that ish at all.
You know how recently old Taylor Shabusiness attacked her attorney again?
Yeah.
Well, I just saw a clip of her in court with a different attorney, and that attorney asking that she please not have to be shackled. She's like shackled and strapped to a chair and shit, and the judge, and he's like, I've defended Taylor before, and we have a relationship, and I would like her to just be unshackled. I'm like, are you crazy?
Oh, honey, you're going to get curb stomped.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
your mind.
Like,
yeah.
We've all seen her do it twice now. Holy shit. Yeah.
Yep. That is
right. Taylor's mind is gone
something.
for meth. You can't trust her at all.
Yeah, Taylor's done. Yeah, without a doubt. But I don't think any attorney should put themselves in that position. I don't think any judge should allow an attorney to put themselves in that position.
No.
She is
No,
really
because you
dangerous.
know she'll act up just because she can.
Oh, yeah. The other
You
times
should
that
see
she's attacked
the video of her, and she's like this, and she's strapped in, and is strapped across her chest. It's pretty great. I'm like, why would you want to risk it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Pretty. Is she in Gen Pop? I think she is. Yeah.
I mean, occasionally, I would imagine she's probably had to be
in
slapped into solitary a bunch of times because she's such an asshole.
She is probably such a huge problem for the judge, or for the courts, or all of the above, but mostly I meant the prison. Yeah, she's so frightening. But at any rate, that's where things stand today. So we'll be back tomorrow with a little more, with a little bit more Lori. And we'll see.
Probably
Maybe
a lot
she'll
more
cross
Lori.
Brandon tomorrow. Is the investigator going to show up? Nobody knows. Nobody even knows. Guess we'll find out. So that's what we've got. Yeah. So I kind of feel like we should just go out with the song one more time. For those of you that
I think we
joined
should.
us late, it's good enough to hear twice, I think. So
it is definitely worth it.
Let's go from it, and we'll go straight from that into our closing. So thanks for being here. This has been yet another production of the True Crime Squad. Just want to let you know, of course, that our super chat is on. You can also tip us over at Buy Me a Coffee. And if you just go to I've said too much. TrueCrimeSquad.com. You can find everything that we do there, and you can find our Buy Me a Coffee there and our Discord, because there's great conversations about this case and a lot of others going on in Discord.
Yes, there sure are.
All righty.
She woke up this morning with a groan and a wheeze. Said, I can't face court, I got the tantrum disease. Her eyes rolled back, she clutched her chest. I've got the jailhouse pox, I need my rest. She's got typhoid, trench foot, and a case of gout. Explosive diarrhea, it's just shooting right out. The jail flu, the vapors, a suspicious rash. Laura's list of illnesses is medical trash. She's got a hangnail, a migraine, a case of the bends, hepatitis Q, and some courtroom end times trends. Oh, Judge Brusky just gave her the side eye, while Prosecutor K just sighed. Nice try. She whispered, consumption, I've caught the plague. I'm coughing blood, my legs are vague. I'm allergic to truth and legal woes, and I just read the Constitution, now I've got the blues. I broke my aura, my chakras are off. I caught demonitis from that prison cough. I've got werewolf fever and ghostly fatigue, and possibly an allergy to due process league. There's bubonic bloat and courtroom chills, narcissistic shingles, and some innocent ills. She's got phantom limb pain, though all limbs are present, and a touch of amnesia when court gets unpleasant, with Judge Bareski tapping that bench in despair. Kay's got her folder and a death row stare. Nice baby voice Lori, but court's still a go. Even even if you claim you got post-murder glow. So here's to Lori and her dramatic affliction, her invisible disease and murder conviction. She can fake sick from here to the moon, but honey, justice don't adjourn for a 4-time convicted murderer.
Season 6, we're back again. Kristi and Katie, your crime time friends. Stories, justice, laughs collide. True Crime Squad, come join the ride. Grab the clues, let's take a stand. For victims' voices, hand in hand. True Crime Squad, it's time to shine. Season 6, your turn, your time. True Crime Squad, where justice meets hilarity.